All right, we are back with a special part of today's episode. It's brought to you by Michelob ULTRA. We love Michelob ULTRA right here. As the official beer partner of the NBA, they know the best moments on or off the court are served cold. So let's crack open a six-pack because we're going to dig into the most buzzworthy NBA stuff that is happening right now. And we'll do our superior play of the day as well. All right, I'm going to start here. So I don't want to start grim here on the Michelob Ultra six-pack, but OKC killed the Clippers tonight. OKC is the defending champs. They're 25-2. The Clippers are now 6-21. They're tied for third worst. They have to give OKC their first-round pick in 26, and they have to do a first-round pick swap for them in 27. And as you know, I am the trade machine Picasso, and I talked about this a little bit with Zach on Tuesday. What do you do if you're the Clippers? It's checkmated me. It's like in Good Will Hunting. I was watching Good Will Hunting with my son a couple of days ago, and when nobody can do the formula problem that he has, he leaves out in the hallway, and then Will Hunting does, and he solves it. And he's asking the people in the class, "Did you guys figure this out? Did you guys solve this?" And people are like, "No way, that wasn't me." I think the Clippers thing is like that thing that we don't have Will Hunting to come in and save this. Their only trade asset really is Zubats. And what are you getting for Zubats ultimately? And by the way, if you're trading him, your defense is going to be worse. Zach, I tried to test drive some Harden trades with him the other day, and he was just poo-pooing all of them. I don't think anyone wants Kawhi at $50 million a year and you never know he's going to play. And, I mentioned this to Max Kellerman the other day, especially when you throw in the Chris Paul embarrassment. Ramona Shelburne wrote a piece about that. Every time you think this Clippers situation can't get worse, it feels like it's gotten worse. And they're so uninspiring. They're playing the Lakers at home on Saturday night. It's going to be like 3/4 Laker fans in the Intuit Dome. I think at some point the punishment is going to come down, maybe before All-Star weekend. I think there's whispers about that. We'll see. We'll see if they actually do it. I just don't know what you do. And it's a pretty rare situation. Brooklyn was in this in the mid-2010s where the Celtics had their picks. And at some point, they made a pretty creative D'Angelo Russell trade to get a pick. And I don't know if the Clippers are wired like that. I think they seem to blindly think this is going to turn around. And yet they won't fire the coach. They gave Lawrence Frank, it seems like they gave him an extension, which feels like it's, a little bit of a, we have this thing happening and here's an extension. I don't know. It's a suspicious extension for considering that the Norm Powell trade was probably the worst trade since the Luka trade. It's just, I don't know how you fix this. I just don't. So that would be my first one in the six-pack, and it's depressing. I'm out of answers. I don't know how you fix the Clippers. Gahao asked me, my producer before, is like, I hope you have a fix. I don't. And if somebody has a fix out there, God bless you. But I think it has to be using Zubats and attaching him to Harden and seeing what you can get. Like, could Minnesota go in a tailspin and then all of a sudden be thinking about Gobert and Randall for Harden and Zubats? They're not doing that now, but maybe in 2 weeks, if they lost some games, they start thinking about it. I think that's the only hope, is that other teams get more desperate and start looking at your assets. But yikes. All right. Second thing on the six-pack, the Christmas games. So the last four, there's 5 games. I'm going to skip the first one for a second. The last 4 are really cool. Spurs Thunder, which I think is the game I want to see more than any other game at all times. Dallas Golden State, sure. Golden State, what's going on with them? They're 2 games under 500. They lost tonight, and I don't know what the fix is with them either. But they're playing Dallas. Flag, they're running crunch time plays for him. Davis has rejuvenated him. I still think Dallas is going to be heard from as a play-in team, especially if Kyrie comes back. So that's the third game. Houston Lakers, that's a great game. And then Minnesota Denver, we get the Joker as the last one. So that's a fun Christmas. All the NFL games that look like they're all going to suck. But then you have the first game, and it's Cleveland, New York. And if you think your family's dysfunctional, let me bring over the Cavs. Have some dysfunction at your Christmas table with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who sit solemnly and sullenly on their bench as they're down 10, wondering what happened. And I went over on them on 56.5. That leads me to my third six-pack because it's possible the Cavs could ruin Christmas or might make a trade before then. Did the Pacers break the Cavs? The Cavs were awesome last year. They won like 64 games, 63 games, something like that. They had a long win streak. They figured out the Garland Mitchell thing. Mobley took a step up. They seemed happy. Kenny Atkinson is getting coach of the year buzz. It seems like it was a million years ago. And then they play the Pacers. Garland's hurt. Mobley misses a game. The Pacers hit a couple ridiculous shots. And by the end of the series, you're like, yeah, the Pacers are for whatever reason better. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have not recovered since. Here's another team that it's really hard to fix. They're $22 million over the second apron. And I bring this up because now that the season is going on, I was thinking about this last night. I had them on a smaller TV with no sound. I'm watching the bigger TV, but I have the Cavs game going, and they just are losing double figures, and they're cutting the bench. Max Strus is sitting there with his new long hair. He's just solemnly sitting next to a couple teammates. Then it goes to Mitchell. He looks just bummed out. The guys on the court look bummed out, and you're like, whoa. What do we do with this? Because this team can't trade. First of all, you're way over the second apron. You can only do 1-for-1 trades. You can only take back less money than you can send out. The second apron, so I did the math. I hope this is right. I found this on the internets. It will cost them $163 million in second apron taxes if they just keep the number of the roster the way it is. So that would mean it would be a $400 million season for them to potentially be like a 7 seed and then lose in round one. They have a couple outs. They can waive Wade and Porter before January 7th, saves them about $3 million. Only $19 million to go. The cap rules are so dumb that Charlotte is $21 million under the cap. Jared Allen makes $20 million. And yet the rules say they couldn't just trade Jared Allen to Charlotte for nothing. That is somehow illegal with the cap. Here's who they could trade him to. The Boston Celtics, who have a $22 million trade exception, who are the only team who could trade for Jared Allen and take off the second apron off Cleveland's hands. But guess what? They're not going to do that because right now they're $7.8 million under the second apron. And if they just did that trade, they'd then have to figure out how to get rid of $11.3 million, which would be Simmons. They'd have to take less money back. Good luck. I can't figure out where to move Jared Allen. They could do some whittle down trades. Like they could trade Strus to Utah for Niang, send them some picks and save $8 million. Still doesn't get them close to the getting rid of 22. They could trade Lonzo into Atlanta's trade exception. They could trade Strus back to Miami. They have a big trade exception. That's stuff that usually doesn't happen during the season. Teams aren't anxious to help out other teams for role players. They could trade Garland, but the 1-for-1 rules that they're handicapped with, they're really screwed. Like here's a trade they could do. They could trade Garland to Washington for Chris Middleton's contract and picks, which Washington might think about, but that would only save them $6.2 million. They'd still be way under the apron. They could trade if Boston took Allen, which I don't think they will, even with Tatum coming back, even with them having the expectations that they might actually be pretty good. I don't think they're going back over the second apron. But if they could get under the second apron somehow, they could then do 3-for-3s, 2-for-2s. They could go after anybody. They go after LeBron, for God's sakes. But right now they can't do that. And that leads to the only other option they have, which is the nuclear option, which would be to trade Donovan Mitchell. And even in that case, it's really hard because they would have to get under the second apron before it made sense to get a bunch of players back that teams would have to trade to get Donovan Mitchell. So if I were the Cavs, I would have a team meeting and say, look, you guys seem really unhappy. I don't know what's happened to us this year, but we can't make any trades. So this is our team. So get your shit together. Should we hire a team therapist? Let's do it. Should we all get drunk together? Should we watch the Shawshank Redemption and see if hope is a good thing for us? We're not making trades. This is our team. We're sorry. We're spending a lot of money on it. Can you guys play better? That's probably the answer. Anyway, get ready to spend Christmas morning with them. Fourth thing on the six-pack. The Şengün crunch time stuff is pretty interesting in Houston. And they lost a game tonight in OT against New Orleans that I was watching on a TV with no sound as I watched the Rams game. I was watching a lot of basketball as I was watching the Rams game. I'm a multitasker. I know I'm getting older. Still throwing my fastball. Still watching 3 games at once. Still got it. They go to Şengün a lot at the end of these games, to the point that I'm starting to watch the Durant body language a little bit, where he's like, I'm Kevin Durant. What are we doing? And Şengün's been really good. And in Denver the other night, which was a great game, he won the game for them and made a couple of big plays down the stretch. But it feels like they've tilted a little too far towards Şengün, not far enough toward the Amen Thompson can beat anybody off the dribble. And oh, by the way, we have Kevin Durant, who's probably going to score 35,000 points in his career, maybe more. So I would like to see them fix the calibration on that versus what I feel like is starting to happen, where it's like this is now Şengün's situation at the end of the games. I think it's really hard to run all your stuff through a center. Now, the overtime game tonight came down to Reed Shepherd missed a couple wide open threes that would have sent in a second OT. But I mention this because I'm watching these Rockets games going, I can't believe they're not giving it to KD more. And I think what's getting lost in this KD season, and just in this season in general, and maybe we just take older guys for granted, but KD's having one of the better old guy seasons of all time, and so is Steph Curry. I went and looked it up. So what's the definition of an old guy? To me, it's like when I was growing up, John Havlicek was playing when he was like 37, 38. He seemed really, really old. And then Kareem in the 1985 finals, when they beat the Celtics, games that I went to, sadly, Kareem was old. He's huge bald spot in the back of his head. I don't think he had shaved his head yet. Maybe he had at that point. But regardless, he was just like old guy Kareem. And then he just annihilated Robert Parrish in the finals. And it was notable because he had won the finals MVP in 1971 with the Bucks. And then he won it again in 1985 with the Lakers. It's like, oh my God, 14-year span between finals MVPs. This is amazing. He's so old. Well, Curry's 37, averaging 29.6 a game before tonight. And KD is 37, averaging 24.8. And I mention this because only a handful of the guys have ever been 37 years or older and averaged 20 points a game. LeBron, multiple times. Steph Curry, Durant, Kareem, Karl Malone, Michael Jordan on the Wizards. That's the entire list. And with Durant, I don't think anybody feels like he's old. You would never say he's getting up there, he's getting old. Curry's starting to seem a little creaky. Not that he's not still great, but he's wearing it, especially at the end of these games. You're like, man, Steph seems exhausted. Ooh, I don't know if Steph could do this for 6 months. Durant just seems exactly the same. And this year, 24.8, 5 rebounds a game. A couple other old guys that still kept it. Nash on the 2012 Suns was still 11 assists a game. Chris Paul on the 23 Suns, he was fine, 14-9. And then Stockton did it for a long time, 13-8. But I was thinking about my Mount Rushmore or my starting 5 for old guys. LeBron, obviously. Kareem. I think Steph, KD, or Karl Malone. I've always tried during my career as a voice and a writer and a podcaster to discount Karl Malone anytime I could, including creating the 42 Club. That was the way to get him out of the most 42 Club points, assists, rebounds in the playoffs, 12 games or more. I made it 42 because it was the way to cut out Karl Malone the most times. So obviously I'm going to cut him out here. And then let's go John Stockton, just so we have a point guard. So Stockton, LeBron. Now Curry's my point guard. Do I really have to put Karl Malone in there? He's pretty good in those Utah seasons. I hate it. Fine. Karl Malone. LeBron, Steph Curry, Karl Malone, Kevin Durant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We'll go big lineup. But I think that would be my old guy starting 5. Kevin Durant, secretly old. 2007 draft. It's a million years ago. Seattle had a team in 2007. Fifth one for the 6-pack. Still doing this, Michelob ULTRA. What's the best location for the NBA Cup semifinals and finals? Because I don't think anybody enjoys Vegas. I didn't want to go. I could have gone on Saturday night, could have gone on Tuesday. I'm kind of over Vegas. When they changed the blackjack to 6-5, I took it as a personal affront. On top of it, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I've just gone there too many times, but the thought of just coming in to watch some basketball with some half-assed crowds, I couldn't get behind. But then the games turned out really good, and I was actually mad that I didn't go to the San Antonio OKC game. The finals were great. But I was thinking, like, as a lot of people were, what would be a better location? Because I think we're good with Vegas. We go there for Summer League. We don't need to go there for the NBA Cup, too. Get Vegas the fuck out. You need it to be a place that you know you can get the arena. People were talking about college stuff. So, like, you do the semis at Duke and you do the finals at UNC. I'm not against that for 1 year. Indiana University gets the semis. The Pacers Stadium gets the finals. That would be fun. The only problem is if the Pacers got into the finals, then home field advantage. You can do Barclays semis, MSG finals. Fine. Still an advantage for the Knicks. Won't be an advantage for the Nets because still never be in the NBA Cup. The two I settled on, I like the idea of a Kentucky-Louisville combo, and not just because it would be great for Jay Kyle, man. Kentucky for the semis, and then Louisville for the finals, or vice versa, Louisville for the semis, Kentucky for the finals. Kentucky, because of the Derby, kind of built, for in either venue to accommodate like big crowds. So I thought that was fun. But here's where I've landed. And I think this is a really good idea. And as usually, I'll be the only one who sticks up for the good people of Seattle, where I have to do a live rewatchables at some point this spring because I love Seattle, or a live basketball podcast or something, because those guys had their team taken away in it, and I'm still pissed about it. And now that team is probably going to be the best team of the 21st century. Fuck. Seattle semifinals, Vancouver finals. We go Pacific Northwest in two cities where they took teams away from. And I think that's the answer. Everybody loves going to Seattle. Everyone loves going to Vancouver. If you talk to anybody who covered the league in the 90s or the early 2000s, they always said like the best part, any road trip they had when they were covering a team, was the Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Pacific Northwest was always their favorite. So let's bring it back. Seattle and Vancouver. I vote for that next year. Could have the semis in Vancouver and the finals in Seattle, or vice versa. I don't really care. I like paying homage to two cities that lost their teams for no reason in the fan base. Vancouver just got fucked from the get-go with everybody running those teams. And Seattle got run over by the OKC owners and David Stern and Howard Schultz, who owns Starbucks and has a $1 kajillion and was a complete coward and sold the team to people from OKC who were going to move it. And he probably knew it and didn't care. So let's at least give them the NBA Cup. That's my fifth thing. Last but not least, two teams that I think are looking pretty good that I would just watch from a league pass standpoint going forward. The Hornets. Miller's back. LaMelo played tonight. I shouldn't be excited when LaMelo plays, but that's where we're at with LaMelo. But they put up 66 points in 17 minutes against Atlanta. Held on late for a win. Really fun style. They're one big guy away. They need like a rebounder or somebody who can have their hands up. I really wish they could just trade for Jared Allen. I wish the CBA was better, but they have all their own first. They have a 2027 Dallas first, top two protected. And they have a Miami first that becomes unprotected at some point during the decade because of the Terry Rozier trade, which the league refuses to acknowledge was shady. So good coach, Charles Lee, good new owners, respected front office all of a sudden. And I just like the spot they're in, and I love watching them. The other team, the New Orleans Pelicans, all of a sudden shit's going down. They beat Houston tonight, which is just incredible. Houston's good. Queen, Murphy, Herb Jones, Poole's coming off the bench now. Like all of a sudden they have what looks to be an NBA team. And I mention this because if I was Atlanta, they have the New Orleans pick, the pick that we all think. New Orleans has the worst record in the West, 6-22. And one of the top 5 worst records. I don't think it's going to stay that way. Now that they have everybody back, whether Zion plays or not, I think, there was John Ewing always posts like the spreads for different things. I like following him for gambling. and he had the NBA records against the spread. And New Orleans had I think the best record against the spread, or one of the best records. So they're constantly covering, they're losing close games, and they're about to have a breakthrough. And if I was Atlanta, I would trade that pick right now. Atlanta has the Porzingis expiring. They have a huge trade exception. They have a good team. They got to figure out the Trae Young thing, but they probably need one more wing shooter. This is their chance to get somebody really good. I think they should go after Giannis. I've been saying that from day one, but I would put that New Orleans pick on the table because 2 months from now, I really genuinely think New Orleans will not be one of the 5 worst teams in the league. They have too much talent. Unless they go the other way and they trade Trey Murphy and they start getting rid of guys. But I don't know if they will. And I will say that Pelicans crowd tonight, granted, I was watching without sound, but everybody was standing and going nuts the whole game. So keep fighting for your team because I think you're going to have to. Anyway, Atlanta, listen to me. Trade the pick. That's the last thing on the 6-pack. If you want even more, you can grab yourself a pack of Michelob ULTRA right here. Ultra getting you closer to the action with a chance to win exclusive prizes, including courtside tickets and more. Michelob ULTRA, superior is worth playing for. Enter now at michelobultra.com/courtside. Michelob ULTRA courtside 25-26, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025. Ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at michelobultra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.